Welcome to episode number 1. I am your host, Sebastian Engstrom, and this is the premiere. I can't believe it. We're finally releasing. It's coming out. I am thrilled to have you here. Welcome. And we're in for a wild ride together. I will go deep today. Truly go into what happened in my life and the reason I'm here today. Sharing with you these vulnerable stories and moments of teachings that were definitely not easy. But if I don't share them, then who will I help? That's the whole thing. How can we help each other? And I ask for you to have an open mind as we dive into some very vulnerable stories, and the intention for this is to be healing. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. There you hear. Performers were so high strung. We put such immense effort into getting things done. And with that, we never rest. We never stop. Never sit still. That puts a massive load on the nervous system. And as we do this, we forget what matters in life. This is to bring it back to your heart, to love, to forgiveness, to share that love and light and forgiveness with someone else. I do this every hour of the weekday to reset myself, to get myself fresh, in a new state, to fully come from the right place. And I hope this will impact you in the same way as it has for me. So we'll start with one hand on our heart, one hand on our stomach. And we're gonna breathe for 10 times in, 10 times out. I'm gonna take roughly 3 minutes and 30 seconds. As I breathe in the first 5 times, you're gonna say, I love you in your name. 3 seconds in, 3 seconds out. And the last 5, I forgive you, your name, quietly as you close your eyes. I'm going to send one person love and light. I'm going to start here. 3, 2, 1. In, and I love you, your name. Out. In. Out. In. Out. I forgive you in your name 3 times. In. Out. In. Out. In. Out. In. You can imagine one person now. This person is going to have the biggest smile on their face. So much love is going to be radiating from them as they're having the best day in their life. Anything in their past is in the past. Anything in the future is in the future. They're right here and right now. The biggest smile is on their face because they love themselves. They've forgiven themselves. And they're one with this moment. What we did to begin with there was to connect, with ourselves, something greater than ourselves, and to send someone else love, send someone else light. Too many times we get caught up in our own problems, our own needs, and that makes us unhappy. We focus too much on ourselves. And I sure as hell have done that in my life. And the more I've given, the more I've been generous, the more I've helped people, the happier I get. And that is the reason for this podcast too, is to share, is to help, is to inspire, is to bring other people up. And the shortfalls, the trips, the tribulations, what I've been through, for that to help other people. So I'm incredibly grateful to have you here. Thank you for tuning in. And let's begin. It all began in a rather dramatic way. What really sparked me to do and make a change, unfortunately, it has to go that far sometimes for things to turn or for you to be motivated to make a change. So it was for me. A family member died. My mentor committed suicide. And that is the reason why I'm on this trajectory and fully have been springboarded and immersed myself into a unknown endeavor. So I will tell you more about my backstory and my history later on, and I'll start with the deep core of why we are here today. And it starts with a young boy coming and growing up in Sweden, predominantly on an island called Gotland, always being different. And long story short, that brought me over here to the United States. I got immersed in the African American culture, rap, hip hop, just an expression of artistic, you can say endeavors, but mainly the rawness and basketball, predominantly. And basketball brought me into it because I felt like, wow, I can feel my feelings. I can truly and fully be myself and not give a damn. And growing up in a society that praised stay in the middle, be lagom, as we say in Swedish, is something I despised. I can't stand it. I don't want to be in the middle. I don't want to be just about right. I want to be completely myself, and I want to show and share the gifts and the talents that I have and fully immerse myself into whatever I'm passionate about. And that led me here to the United States. 12 years now, going strong in California and Minnesota, Missouri, Oklahoma. I've also been places where I've lived. And the path of truly and fully just expressing who I am, I found that through sports. I found who I was in completely exerting myself, completely immersing myself, and I had nothing left to give. The satisfaction of that is nothing like I've ever experienced before. And the multiple states of, one can say, consciousness, of performance one can reach within one game or within one lift is all the emotions, all the experiences that you can have in a single year. Strength became my passion, as it's a constant truth. 300 pounds on a barbell is always 300 pounds. So I started lifting at 15. That, in combination with sports, took me to the United States. And I actually, has a deep rooted and seated core wound, you can say why I was so driven to just getting after it, was deep insecurity. I never knew who I fully was, and I was always different, never wanted to fit in, and I was always never feeling I was good enough. The deep cliche wounding of, it's my fault that my parents split apart, my parents split apart, that I was the root of them being so angry and not being able to stay together. And as my mother got custody, I believe that my father, we were not good enough for him. He chose work over us. We moved back from Stockholm, living in at that point. I grew up in Stockholm, and then moved to Gotland, the island, and then he stayed in Stockholm. And it was this deep wounding that I realized now in later ages that everything that I've ever done is to prove to him that I'm good enough and worthy enough of his love. And we're going to be tackling these deep rooted woundings, as well as what drives us, the psychology behind it, the mindset, fully immersing ourselves into why do we function like we do? What is it that drives us? Because if we go about life not having a clue of why we get angry, why we get sad, why we get motivated, why we get happy, then we're a slave to whatever it is driving us. And I'd rather be aware of it. And this is to bring awareness to it. And is to also to heal aspects of you so you can perform even better and at a higher level. And my father has been a big reason why am here in the United States and why I've achieved what I've achieved, done the things that I've done, and pushed myself to the very edge. And also part of the reasons that it has led me to run myself in the ground, health-wise, both mentally and physically, spiritually, and learned so much from it, for better and for worse. I wouldn't have it any other way, because at the end of the day, it's been a blessing, and it's been a true gift. But if I wouldn't have been aware of it, it could have taken a very negative turn, a very dark turn. And for a lot of people who don't look at this, it leads to radical numbing, looking away, shying away at what is difficult, what is uncomfortable. Everything from substance abuse to regular, ordinary things that we don't even think is an addiction, like technology, like our phone, like working out, like eating. It's just the relationship that you have with it, whatever you're going through. That is what are we going to be talking about. So if we go back to the story, my father, always tried to prove to him, still, it's a deep thing that I utilized, and I've turned it into a superpower of mine. It's my greatest hurt, but it's also my greatest superpower. I'll say it again. It's my greatest hurt. It's also my greatest superpower. And that I'm incredibly grateful for today that I've experienced this. And if you look at some of the highest performers out there, all of them have some sort of difficulty, challenge that they've faced in their life. None of their childhoods, none of anything that they've gone through. It's been some sort of a difficult in their life that made them rise above, that have made them and challenged them mentally, physically, spiritually, on so many different levels, that they have risen above the occasion and became stronger for it. And that's amazing. But what happens if you don't look after what is truly has caused that hurt, what is truly has caused that trauma in the body? That is when the challenge comes in. And that is what we will be addressing, is bringing that to the light, to the surface, is to stop the people who don't feel like they have nothing to live for anymore once they stop their career, once they fail, once they do something that is ordinary or out of the ordinary as a high performer, and they don't know what else to live for. Whether that be an Olympian that just have made it to the Olympics and now they are depressed because they don't understand what else is there to live for. Once the Olympics is over, Michael Phelps said roughly 80% of all the Olympians experience some sort of a depression. Michael Phelps, who is the most decorated Olympian by far, almost committed suicide. Let that sink in. We praise all these people who have the gold medals, who have the money, who have everything that we ever thought we wanted, that we strive for, the body, the money, the houses, the cars. the significant other, the children. That doesn't mean that they're happy. It's in here. It's in you. You are the only one that can make yourself happy. Regardless of your circumstances, regardless of what you have, it doesn't matter what you have around you. Your internal state, your attitude, your character is all that matters. Period. Nothing else. And this is to dive deep and to fully embrace that. And to find the tips, the tricks, and everything that goes into it to make you aware, to make you physically, mentally, and spiritually aware and fit. So not only you can perform, but so you can give it back to others. So you can elevate others. So you can be a change maker in this world. You can make other people rise above whatever they have going so they can inspire others. It's the expression, leaders create leaders. That's what we're all about. What happened when I went to the United States is I was told I would not be able to play football. Who are you? You're starting to play football at 18 years old? American football, yeah, not your soccer football. And I had a natural talent for it. Of course, I kicked the ball, but I also was a receiver. I was a corner. I ended up playing Division II football. Long story short, I did not make it in the first college, and I was promised to play in an NIAI, so Independent Collegiate League. Went against the odds, was told by everyone around me, hey, you gave it a try. It's okay, son. Like, you can move on to something else. You're never going to be a professional. I'm like, no. That fueled my fire even greater. Went to play University of Central Oklahoma D2 and decided as a high achiever, okay. After I've gone into 2 days, well, not 2 days, but spring training, all the coaches got fired. They brought in a whole new coaching staff, and they completely wanted to run us to the ground because they thought we were mentally weak. I don't have a medium average button. It's go hard or go home, all in for me. If I do it right. And when we would run every morning at 6 o'clock, we would hit the gym, I did not hold back. I was going to win. I was going to get better every single day. Every single day. That worked for some time. And yeah, it's freaking rewarding as hell. But after having done that for so many years, I've not taken care of my body properly. I haven't listened to it because I'm like, F that. My mind, my spirit is stronger than my body will adapt. Well, if your body is broken, if it keeps breaking because you're pushing it so hard, then at one point you need to settle. You need to be smart. You need to use your head. You need to strategize. It's taken me many trials and tribulations to get to where I am today because I was so fully bought into the message of you need to outwork everyone else around you. Not saying that, well, if you think you're working hard, there's always someone else out there working harder than you. Get after it. I watch so many motivational videos, so many motivational speakers, podcasts, read books, mindset, mentality, inspirational stories. Oh, have I been fired up? I never had the talent, but I damn sure worked harder than I ever could have imagined. And it felt amazing. But my body was breaking down. I and so many others started having post-traumatic stress because of the stress that we put on our bodies. And this guy was a hardcore fullback, really, massive guy, the head coach. We'd wake up in stress in the middle of the night. I found myself waking up in the shower at 2 a.m. I was sleepwalking in the shower thinking I was late at 2 a.m. And I realized, what the fuck am I doing? Excuse my language. Then came the nosebleeds. And then it came every single day. Every morning I had a nosebleed. At the same time, I was trying to finish college in 3 years. And I was working at the same time. I had a 3.7 GPA. There's no off button. Go hard on all fronts. Being in a relationship in a different country, doing it on your own. Yeah, for sure. I got it. So I quit football because I realized the hard truth. I was not going to be a professional athlete. If I was not going to do that, I was not going to graduate in 3 years. So that was that. I coached soccer for the rest of my college bachelor's. Went on to strength coaching after that, moved to California from Oklahoma. And I decided, okay, let me open up a CrossFit gym. Strength has always been my passion. Let me put this to work. I had a degree in leadership, organizational leadership. Decided, okay, well, now let's get a master's in human performance biology, kinesiology, to be more specific. Decided it was not for me. Did research on the human brain, philosophy within sports, and performance enhancing drugs. So it was incredibly interesting. Realized, okay, I want to take the business degree, and went for a master's in organizational leadership, a master's in business. Did that, went into cybersecurity. And why? Wow, that's a pivot. Going from strength, going from high performance to cybersecurity. Well, I was in Silicon Valley, and I thought, okay, well, why not join a technology company while I'm here? Why not try it out? At that point, I had met my wife, who is a freaking gorgeous badass, and just she was a strength coach too at that point, and was all into biohacking, anything to enhance your performance on all levels, mental, physical, spiritual. And she introduced me to everything from bulletproof to supplementation of different sorts and different natures. Went pure organic, clean eating, grass-fed beef, everything pasture raised. And that went from being a hard gainer, went from being a eating anything and everything in sight, just to pack on the pounds, to become as strong as possible while doing it in a healthy way. And that shifted my trajectory of how I wanted to go about my life. Fast forward 3 years, I found myself at what came to be the most reputable cybersecurity out there. And it was an incredible experience. It was an amazing experience with the passion, with the dedication of people who were there. They were truly doing it to change how we view cybersecurity. We stop breaches. I love that slogan. It was like being a modern firefighter. And a firefighter was what I at one point was going to be. It was helping people. And I'm like, yes, all right, let's do this. I had a tremendous mentor. Many people even know of the name, would question, okay, well, why would you do that? Why would he even take a call with you? This guy would have inspirational quotes, character shapes, everything. Difficulty shapes your character. Anything will be that is difficult will make you stronger. Let's go. Anything that is not ready yet, that is 80% ready, release it fast. It's already too late. Silicon Valley style. Because if you wait till 90, if you wait to 100, even 80%, depends on who you ask, your competition already beat you. It's the saying of you need to launch and build a plane as it's in the air to keep it flying. Because if you built the plane, it's already too late. incredibly what we were able to achieve, experience, and then they grew rapidly. The company changed, and a lot of people started joining the bandwagon, became a rocket ship, and ego started setting in, as well as within myself. It became all about titles, fame, being recognized. The company was recognized every single day in the media, on the news, everywhere. And at that point, my daughter was born. And me being a high performer, I challenged my identity big time. I was waking up at 4:30 in the morning. I was taking a cold shower. I was doing bulletproof coffee. And then I was racing down on my bike to get to train. Rain doesn't matter. Sun doesn't matter. I was there. I was doing it. And doing affirmations on the train, visualizations, got to the office, first person ever in the building. Every single morning, there at 5:40, do journaling, visualize the day, and get after it. And then listening to podcasts on the way there as well as I was biking. Reading on the way back on a train, listening to podcasts as I was working out. So I was averaging probably 2 to 3 podcasts a day, plus reading a book, no TV. All incredibly, incredibly dialed into what is going to increase my performance. How can I be a change maker in this world? It's all about how can I? And then my child was born, our child. I was exhausted. Sleep deprivation came in. Numbers started dropping. I was not one of the top achievers anymore because I felt like I didn't have the energy. And then on top of this, before I was only sleeping 6 hours. I can't do that. I know there are a lot of high performers and I listen to these people. Oh, well, I sleep 4, I sleep 5 hours. There's this saying from 50 Cent. He was asked when he was doing a movie, he was recording an album and doing all this other stuff. When do you sleep? He's saying, I don't sleep. I don't have time for sleep. That's an idiotic thing. I'll tell you that. If you want to crash and burn, freaking sleep. If you don't want to crash and burn. Because that's what happened to me. I fell asleep standing up at one point. But it became such a significant part of how dark things came and became at one point. I didn't know who I was. All the love that I was used to getting from my wife was now directed towards my daughter. And just these dark thoughts that I'd never experienced before started coming up. And please know, would never, ever, ever act on anything like this. And this is to bring light to that everyone has dark thoughts and everyone has things that they suppress, that they do not choose to share with this world. I would never share this. Hell no. But this is where it got to me because I was in such a deprived state. What I learned later was the ego is trying to shape and build a reality and escape if it becomes too difficult. Because I had no freaking clue what this came from. I was always used to being the kindest and nicest person. But at that point, every time I was cooking, this obsession became with when I had a knife, that I would use it on myself to end things. Because I was in suffering, I was in pain. We did crying in arms with our daughter. Like, I did not know how to deal with this new reality. And it was not like I wanted to do it. It was thoughts. Then it became for my wife. Then it became for my daughter. And it was when I was in a mastermind and a sharing circle happened where everyone was asked to please write down 10 things that you think are unforgivable in your life. And everyone started writing it down, probably 50 people in that room. And then we were asked, okay, now pick the one that you're think is like, no one would ever forgive you for this. And then they said, no, you're going to share it. And as you can imagine, the energy in that room became something I've never experienced before. The nervousness, the fear, the tension. But then the first person started. Shortly after, and almost every person had emotional release. They cried. But as they said it, we all as a group said, you are forgiven. And that's the biggest thing. We all hold these things inside of us that we're so ashamed of. And that we think that we're alone. But you're not. We're not. People have more compassion and more love than you ever expect them to. Things that people shared was everything from eating disorders to not being there for their family to almost committing suicide. One gentleman said that he had a S-Class, S-model Audi, and he got in such a difficult timing in his life in the financial industry where his performance was all measured on finances and his performance there on signing up clients that he decided, I'm going to take my own life. He ran through 2 red lights in LA, hoping that he would hit someone or someone would hit him so he can just die. Because he didn't know what to do with himself. And there were many stories that were shared of that caliber. It came to me and I can't even remember what I shared at first. And then we wrapped it up. And then the biggest person in the room, almost a 300-pound, almost pure muscle gentleman said, he broke down, started bawling and crying, saying, I lied. He'd been in the special forces in Canada and said that he murdered a family while he was on a mission, and he was just following his orders, but he could never forgive himself for doing it. Call it martyr, following orders, but it was such a deep-rooted shame in his body and his being. And we all forgave him. Then the next biggest man in the room spoke up, started crying and bawling him as well. And shared that he thought about committing suicide once his son was born, and he couldn't understand it. And then I realized, wow, it's the saying, courage begets courage. Once you see one person do it, it gives you the permission to do it. And something came up with me that I've suppressed, that I have never intended to even look at. Because I thought that was a hindrance to who I was, to my performance, to even being seen as a lunatic, to be seen as crazy. And I felt like, okay, it's time to share. I've never cried that much, that intensely in my entire life. I had people holding me all around me. And the most important, significant was the mother who was sitting right next to me. Because what I thought was unforgivable, so many women came up to me and shared that if that is the worst thing that you ever thought, that's nothing. And to some of you, it might seem monstrous. But this is to shed light on that we all go through things, that we all experience things and think about things. And please share. Please seek out help. There are people out there who are and will be there for you. And I'm so grateful that I finally did. And I realized when going through this, and I was so wrapped up in my numbers. If you go back to the story, back to the company, and I was going through all these challenges, what I did was what so many other men do, and what I saw my father do too, is, well, how can I be a better provider? Because I didn't know how to be there for my daughter. I didn't know how to be there for my wife. So I worked even more. On the second week after my daughter was born, I started working. And anyone who lives in a Nordic country, Northern Europe, where I'm from, where you get 5-6 months of paternity leave, I would have needed that for sure. But I kept on going, and that caused a lot of trauma and stress all around. Had no clue how to integrate it, no clue who to be in this new world, and family was not necessarily there, and I didn't ask for help at all. And it was this mentality of, I can do everything on my own. I am so strong. And I know there's so many out there who are on the very bleeding edge of whatever you do, that you feel and think the same. I can handle this shit. No, I don't ask for help. That's a weakness. And it's a positive thing that, yeah, you can muster up the strength to go through anything, to run through walls, but eventually it's going to catch up with you. One of the most important things is to have support, is to have family around you. And I learned this the hard way. And I'm so incredibly lucky and thankful to have met my wife and her family here. Who knows, like, where I would have been at this point if not. And I'm saying that as one of my close friends who I worked with at this company, he was one of the top. He was the top performer. He was by far the best salesperson in the entire company. And at the office, at least. And we had a leaderboard. He was at the bottom of it. One of the bottom spots, and he kept on losing deal after deal, and he didn't get it. No one got it. No one understood why. And I was on a walk with him one day. He just broke down. He was bawling in tears and saying, I have a gun in my drawer, and I have to convince myself every day not to use it. What's the reason to live anymore? And this was due to his performance. He lost his identity of being a top performer, a top achiever. He's not alone. I realized what achievement, ego, money, titles, and fame can do to people. And I decided, okay, I need to make a shift in my life. The main thing that caused this was what I said: a family member died in the very beginning. Our cat got hit and killed. And I saw him as a family member. And when I say that, it shook me so deep in my core. I fell to my knees, literally. And I was mourning him like I mourned the loss of a son, because of the immensity of the pain that it brought. Was not just that I lost someone very close to me, but that could have been anyone in my family. But the state I was in is that nothing mattered else than my performance and what I could achieve, my money, my title, my performance. And I realized I needed to make a change. This can't go on any longer. At one point, I realized I was in my mind, I was like, if it doesn't work out with my family, with my wife, I have my job. I'm only, and you're only a number to your job. And I'll tell you that. To whatever you do, you're just a number to your family, you're so much more. So whoever you are out there listening, whatever you perform at, think about what really matters. And you know, sometimes there's stillness that needs to come up, that you need to engage in. But you know, and I ignored that voice for far too long. I went on a path of a lot of silence, slowing down my life significantly. And you'll hear that from Michael Phelps too. Almost took his own life. Simplicity and slowing down is what I turned to too, without knowing of his story before this. I'd become addicted to my job. I'd become addicted to my performance. I didn't know who I was without it. And a lot of tears and a lot of introspection later, I switched jobs to a much slower paced job. And that was incredibly challenging because I don't like to take things slow. I like to go 120 miles per hour. But in that, you forget to smell the flowers. You forget to enjoy life. You forget to have fun because you become so numb to everything and everyone else around you because the numbers have gotten you dumb. Dumb in the sense of delusional, twisted, immersed in fame, trying to chase and make a name for yourself. I met my mentor in Austin a few months before I left the company. And I was so grateful for everything that he had done for me. He had opened up an office. He rose the ranks. He was incredible at what he did. Very much like myself, type A. Very structured, very organized, very strategic, meditating, biohacker. All about just achieving the highest performance at all times. And he got a dream opening and opened up an office, became a director. And he didn't do as well as expected. And after a year, I asked him, like, hey, how are you doing? Like, how are things going? Like, I know it's been a bit challenging. And he had the wisest things to say. Like, difficulties shapes character. He always had incredible things to say about adversity and how to carry on and how to look and find light in the dark. I'm like, wow, you're freaking incredible. I thanked him when I left the company. I was very grateful for everything that he's ever done. And shortly after, I heard that he was having some trouble, mental health trouble. He was asked to go on a sabbatical. Shortly after, I heard he committed suicide. Both him and the gentleman who said, I have a gun in my drawer, I have to convince myself every day not to use it. Neither of them had family beside them. Both of them were out on an adventure doing it on their own, thinking they're so strong, they can conquer the world. More so we usually do when we're young. Both of them were about 30. So know your values. Think about your values. Explore your values. Explore what really matters. Know that you are not your numbers. You're not your performance. You're not what you do. You're not what other people think you are, what you're perceived to be. You are you. And only you know you. So smile. Just feel what it feels like to take a breath in. Just be you. To feel your heartbeat. To feel like what it feels like to breathe. What it feels like to see. What it feels like to hear. What it feels like to feel. What it feels like just to be you. Because you've been given a gift. And you have nothing to prove. And there are so many people out there in this world that would give anything to be in the position you are right now. People who are on their deathbed. People who have cancer. People who are in such immense pain that they just wish that their life would end, but still they keep going. You have it made. You're in a very good position. You have your health. You have your senses. You're alive. Just take some time. Be in this. Bask in this. See what it feels like. You're freaking alive. You're right here. You're right now. You're nowhere else. You don't need to be anywhere else. Everything that you've done, it's all been here to lead you to this moment right here, right now. And just trust that you've learned. If you want to change, you can change. It's all up to you. It's all within you. It always was. It will always be. Nothing else matters. And freaking smile and laugh. Because life is good. I have to remind myself of this as well. So I tend to take everything so serious. I tend to not smile. I tend to not laugh. Biggest thing is I couldn't even feel my emotions for the longest time. Because I saw it as a weakness. I suppressed them. I pushed them down. Thought it was nuisance, distractions. It's taken me 2 years. And I still work on it just to feel my feelings. To actually freaking feel something. Especially for men out there. Fucking feel your feelings. It's okay. It's uncomfortable at times, yeah. You want to know what real strength is about? Become vulnerable. Accept defeat. Fail. What will you then? Who are you then? Who are you when it's all taken away? That is the greatest challenge. Who are you if you don't have your friends, your family, anything besides from your material things, your profession, what you do? Who are you then? So once you know that, then you find true strength, regardless of what you do. Because once you know yourself so well and what you stand for, then no one else can sway you. You become unaffected by events, people, and circumstances. That is the true, real measure of strength. When you choose your reality, regardless of what you go through. And that has been my practice ever since. The awakening was caused by death. And I wish that this will not happen to you. Happen for me, not to me. Excuse me. And I'm grateful that I get to experience this and be here today to share with you this message. Since then, I've slowed down. I left my job here about 7 months ago because I knew I was not doing it for myself. It was an incredibly high-paying job. Made more money than I ever expected to do. But I was selling my soul. I was doing it for my father. I was doing it to prove to him that I'm good enough. And now, I'm doing what I want to do. I'm giving back. And that took a lot of help, a lot of support. And thank you to anyone and everyone who has been part of my life. Thank you. You're part of this. You are part of this podcast. And what I'm saying, you are part of what I'm saying. Like Abby Wambach says, when you score goals, start pointing fingers. Start pointing fingers because you never did it alone. You're never in this alone. That is one of the biggest things is, let's do this freaking together. And that's why I'm focusing on strength. Strength programs within and without. And it's so much more. It's to collectively come together. It's to unite together. It's to bring awareness to performance addiction. And to forge the strongest version of yourself. The world needs you out there. To make a change. Big or small. And the biggest thing is knowing who you are. And the simple acts. Know that it doesn't have to be grandiose. It can simply just be you being you. Not pretending to be someone else. Start small. I appreciate you tuning in. And if you want to follow us online on social, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, we will leave the information in the show notes. And expect weekly releases now going forward. And again, as a reminder, if you didn't do it, please just take 10 seconds, scroll down, push the 5 stars, and you'll do the good deed of the day. It'll help us reach more people, and the message is helpful. I hope you agree with me. And it's to do good in this world. So I appreciate you tuning in again. And one last note, anyone who has gone through any dark thoughts, any dark nights of the soul, I hear you, I feel you. You can reach out to me, if anything, but know that there is help. And regarding my journey, again, I never, ever will act on the thoughts that came up. Just want to make that clear. And to add a side note, I spoke to the gentleman who said that he considered committing suicide, or he thoughts came up of that when his son was born. And I talked to him afterwards, like, why do you think this came up for you and for I? And he said it was the simple construct of the ego. It became such a challenging environment that the ego didn't know how to exist. And what it does is think of it like a little child is, I want it this way, I want it that way. And it was too painful to be in existence. Even ending itself is a better solution than staying with the pain. As crazy as that might sound, it resonates with me. I want to leave you with that tidbit that you are not your thoughts. There's so much more than that. So be aware of that. Sending you much love, and until next time.